that we'll just end there. Or should we go all the way?
Following your lead.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Because I feel like we might even end here.
Right. Is it live?
Yeah.
I don't know why it always takes forever to tell me.
Let me see what I posted you. Ooh.
Go out.
And I was thinking pink, but I remember that.
Let me know if that camera is too.
Oh, we're gonna check our mics. Here, copy link.
Testing. Just get back in.
Let's see.
Testing. Good morning. Testing.
Okay, sound check is good. All right. Go out and come back in. I just need to make sure that I'm posting it on our Facebook page before I forget, as I did do that before. So let me see. Okay. I'm like, where is my post? I just posted it. Did we close? Okay.
We're live.
Yes. So we are live. Just want to make sure. I'm just checking.
Good morning. It kind of feels a little late in the day. I don't know why it feels like that.
It
Maybe
does.
because,
It
but it
does.
feels like outside this heat is getting to us. You know, it's Texas when you wake. I woke up at 5, and I already felt the humidity coming through my garage. So I'm like, yep, it's gonna be another heat
It's just
advisory.
that time, right. It's just that time right now.
Thank you, sure we got everything together. We good on that?
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay, guys, we were just checking, making sure that we have our sound good to go, because sometimes we get really into the conversation, we forget to do that first, and then we find out later when it's too late. So I just want to make sure that we're good first. Okay. All right. There we go. I know, just like you said, first of all, it does feel late, and then let me put my sorry. Let me just do one thing. Put it on Do Not Disturb. Those notifications, they just come. They just come all the time. But yeah, waking up this morning. First of all, it does feel late, but I think because we all started our days so early.
Yeah.
So right, by the time it's 11 o'clock doing the podcast, it just feels like half the day is already started. But yeah, it's a wonderful day here at Dos Amores. We're back again Friday. As you guys know, we've been here every Friday since whenever we started first going live, which was a couple months ago, right? I don't remember. Do you remember?
Was it the beginning of this year or was it the end of last year? Was it the beginning?
No,
Like,
I
was
think
this
it
a
was the beginning
February
of this
thing?
year. Yeah. It was early.
It was like, yeah, as soon as after
Yes.
winter, this was another thing that came immediately following.
Exactly. If you've been following us for a while, you know that we used to do the pre-recorded episodes, and we used to have that, and then we moved because our goal was to be consistent, and we moved from that to doing it live, and so here we are. And so that has been a fun journey so far, just having it live and getting to hang out with you guys here every single Friday. So for those of you who are joining online, hello, welcome back to another episode of What Anna Said podcast. We're so glad to be here with you guys this morning. As you guys know, we've been covering the book Formed Underwater, and we've been going through all the pages, taking our time, just soaking in all the information that we've been studying together. And so we're going to continue to do that here today. And we're on chapter 3. Wow. That went by
Yes.
so fast.
It
I was
did.
just about to say chapter 2.
Me too.
But we just finished covering chapter 2, which was origin.
Yeah.
And we're now in chapter 3. We started it last week. And so we're going to continue on that. And this chapter is Why Are You Here? Purpose and Potential. Okay. So before we just dive right in, I want to give the floor to my sisters here, Kim or Edna, if you guys want to share anything before we go right back into where we left off.
Well, first of all, I cannot wait to dive into this chapter. I was looking forward to this chapter because the first two, first of all, the first chapter, identity, knowing who are you, going into origin, where you come from, and then now coming to this chapter. The first two was just like, it felt like it took a long time, but it's
Right.
because it was so important to
Yeah.
make sure that you got it.
Right.
It's so important to know who you are and whose yous are. And so now coming into this chapter of now, what do we call it? Why are you here? This is the fun part, I think. And I think this is why I
Yeah.
cannot wait for chapter 3 personally for me, because now we get to dive into how it makes sense to discover what your purpose is. Now we get to talk about the fun things because it feels more fun understanding why it's
Yes.
important to know what it is that you were called to do
Right.
here.
Exactly. Thank you, Edna. Kim?
Yes, very true, Enner. Thank you for that recap. And just like she was mentioning in chapter 1, we talked about that if you don't know who you are, you will spend your life trying to earn worth instead of living from it. And we just dug more deeper into that, and that your identity is not your income, it's not your education, your role in the church, your past mistakes, your current limitations. But identity is the answer to a simpler, deeper question: who am I, even if everything else is taken away? And we talked about that. Take away the titles, or from your job title, or what you've always known yourself to become. And when you take all those things away, who are you really? And also chapter 2, where we talked about, like Miss Edner said, if you don't understand your origin, you will misuse your life. And it's talking about that we don't begin with effort, but we begin with origin. And once we understand those first 2 chapters, then that's where we dive into the fun part, which is talking about purpose and why understanding origin and how it naturally leads to purpose, and how purpose is not something you invent, but something you uncover. So I'm so excited to continue diving into chapter 3. And yeah, if you have your book, join us along. I know we finished last week on page 32, I believe. So we're going to pick right back up, and I'm going to pass it right back to Anna.
Yeah, so last week we had a great conversation about this, just an introduction into why are you here, purpose. We talked about, how we were created on assignment, and even breaking that word down, and the definition of assignment being a task, a legal transfer of rights, or a specific duty given to someone, which is what we've been focusing on. Last week we left off on a statement, and it was: purpose is actually about what needs to be done and why you are the one wired to do it. And I love that that's in bold, about why you are the one wired to do it. Because yes, the truth of it is that you are specifically wired to meet a specific need, to fulfill the task of a specific assignment. And so some of the notes that I wrote down here that we talked about last week was, what burdens won't leave me alone? Like some of the questions that came to mind reading that. What's something that it just won't leave me alone? Because purpose is hiding in the things that you can't ignore, the things that keep coming up. Some examples that we talked about last week was about how Esther, she saw becoming a queen, but purpose said, you're saving a nation. Just like Moses, who was just when he was later on in his adult life, when he was a shepherd in the wilderness with his family, and God said, no, your purpose said you're a deliverer. And David, we talked about how he thought he's just delivering lunch to his brothers at the camp for war, and purpose said, no, we're introducing a king. And so those are the things that, that sat with me when reading this last week, and just thinking about that. What burdens won't leave me alone? What are some of the things that I'm deeply convicted about that, just stay on the forefront of my mind, just stay on my heart? And so we get to dive into this next page today, page 33, and we're going to continue that conversation. So welcome. And as we read along, please feel free to jot down your thoughts, your comments, or questions in the comment section of this live. And so we can discuss it, talk about it. We would love to have this dialogue together with you guys that are watching now. So page 33, and if you can start us off on that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, starting from the top, it says, during the years when everything felt stale, I believed my purpose was delayed. I thought purpose required permission, opportunity, or perfect conditions. But purpose does not wait for circumstances to cooperate. It waits for awareness. Did you want me to continue?
Yes.
Okay. The moment I began to understand identity and origin and purpose didn't suddenly just appear, it became visible. Once that realization settled in, I began to see my life differently. And I absolutely love this because I was thinking about that awareness where it says, but purpose does not wait for circumstances to cooperate. It waits for awareness. And what does that even mean? And so what I jot down in my notes as I was reading is that purpose does not wait for circumstances, but awareness, because it means that your purpose had already been existing.
Oh yeah.
It has already been there. It's not something that you only begin when you feel like you're ready, when you
Right.
feel like, okay, now is the time is right. It had already been existed. It just took that time for you to be aware that, wait, I was here to uncover something, like Kim said. I was here to discover things. There's a reason why I feel a certain way to achieve. There's something here that's missing. And so when you feel that pulling, that means there's something that I need to do that is specifically created for me to discover. And so when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about a teacher. And I love that illustration because a teacher doesn't become a teacher just because he or she gets a degree. When a teacher begins teaching, though a degree allows that person to go into the school system and legally teach and all the things, but there is a reason why they've always been teaching. They've been teaching from the beginning. Maybe they had, when they're a child, and I know I did this a lot, pretending you're reading to your teddy bears or books, or there's a passion of helping other kids understand things. There's a little certain patience. There was a reason why there were signals that was in your life that woven you into becoming a teacher before you decided, wait, this is what I want to be as a degree, because I know that they need me here. This is what I'm here to fulfill. And so that's kind of the things that my mind was going through, understanding what purpose is and what that awareness means to what am I discovering.
Very true. Yeah, it's just like you, the example you brought up about the teacher and thinking about how, so, most times our calling or our purpose in life, we're already drawn to those things. Whether we understand it or can name what that thing is, it's already evident. It already shows up in early childhood, because that's something, like you said, that's something to be uncovered. That's something for you to discover. And I love that the author writes it there about purpose didn't suddenly appear. It became visible, and which emphasizes that it's something it's always been there. It's not something that you that comes up in life if you grow more or whatever. No, it's something that's always been there. Something we talked about last week was that purpose doesn't show up at the finish line. You think that, okay, once you get through the race and then you win the prize. No, purpose was there before the race even began. Before you even understood that there was such a thing as purpose, it was always there, and it always existed, and it lives inside of you. And so, like the author says, the moment I began to understand identity and origin, which are the first two chapters that we've discussed over and over again, that we've really meditated on, and letting that information kind of, saturate all of our understanding and stuff. Once those things were understood, purpose didn't suddenly appear, but it became visible. And so once that realization settled in, I began to see my life differently.
Absolutely. One of the things that I also took note is, like, when you don't understand your identity or origin, one of the most interesting things is that when it comes to your purpose, one moment.
Sorry, just one moment.
Yes. Hello, baby brother. Good morning.
No, you're good.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. No, it's okay. That's just my little brother. Yeah. Okay, bye, Junior. Good luck. Love you.
Love
Okay.
you.
It's just my little brother. That's the thing about being consistent on this life, because he knew exactly where to find us.
He knew exactly where.
He knew exactly where to.
I saw
pull
him
up.
running. That's how I was nudging you, because I was like, hold on, this is important, it's urgent.
Yeah. So my
Oh, I
little
love
brother,
that.
he just came to grab something. So anyway, It's always good to see him. Um,
Wait for Kim.
Yeah. So Kim's just getting him set up.
And this is life.
Yeah, this is live. This is what I love about going live is
Yeah.
because and even before we used to go live, I remember when we would pre-record our episodes, like the kids in the background or something's happening, and we would just have to roll with it because that's just real life. That's just the way that it is.
I know when we had the podcast at my house the other day, just
Yeah.
time didn't work out for us to
Oh,
come
yeah.
here. You're like, it's fine. We'll just come to your house, we'll do it, and just let your kids run in the background. We've done that many times. Like, okay, fine. And the whole time he was literally in the hallway.
Oh yeah.
On
No,
his
Elias was
tablet the entire
definitely.
time running.
He definitely
back.
did not care that there was an episode being recorded.
I have purpose here too. Like y'all do your thing.
Yeah,
So
he was very much
it's-
just.
yeah. And this is really what it is.
Yeah,
This is the
exactly.
real life.
And this is the thing because we can't allow those things to keep us from walking
Yeah.
in our calling, our purpose. And so, you know what? Sometimes you're going to get interrupted during your live or you're going to hear the
In
kids in the
live.
background. That's okay.
In the middle of doing
Right.
schoolwork, maybe you're at work and something interrupts you.
Right.
Keep going,
It's not an
please.
excuse to stop. It's a reason to keep going. And so, anyway, I'm so sorry, Edner, to have cut you off. Where
No, you're
did
fine. Hopefully, I
we-
can remember what I was saying. But I was just on the topic of purpose and what I love. I think we spoke about this last week.
Yeah.
For me, I would just dive into chapter 3. If I was to write this book
Oh,
and I
yeah.
had no head knowledge of
Mhm.
what I was saying or thinking that I think I
Right.
knew,
Right.
chapter 3 would have been chapter 1 for
Oh, yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, but understanding who I am and my source, my origin, it makes purpose clear. It's because a lot of times is if you start at chapter 3, you begin to borrow other people's identity. Like when I was growing up, some of the clues that hints me as becoming a teacher, and being a teacher can be many different things. You might be a
Yes.
counselor, you might be just a teacher who loves to teach math, you might be a teacher, a coach. There's so many, I was a scholar or a professor, whatever that is, because also there's diverse in the age groups that
Mhm.
God has put you out to teach. That
Right,
where you're like this
right.
person can teach children really well,
Mhm.
and then this person can teach a group of adults. So
Mhm.
on discovering, for me, once I discovered that teaching was it, then it was like, okay, Lord, where,
Right.
what portion of that is
Right.
it? And so if you don't know those two things, you can
Right.
interpret your purpose or your
Right.
calling. Or looking back at my life, being a counselor sounds like a boring thing, but even at a very young age, in the situations that I was been through and the trauma, those were hard things. But I was able to give advice and counseling to other people within my age or younger. There's so many times in my life where people are like, wow, I thought you were a lot older. And I used to think that is a bad thing, but they were talking about head knowledge. They weren't talking about just the way I was looking, but and also the way that I carried myself. So the way that I was carrying myself is because there was a way of it that God was teaching me. You're going to hold a lot of information. You're going to be able to give a lot of information because of your circumstances. That, like you said, I loved how you said it. What burdens has been following you?
Right.
The burdens that have been following me is really is a lot of burden, but I love the results that it's been giving me. The
Yes.
results to teach me to stand firm. There's results of being able to be headstrong and understanding what my source is. Lord, this is who I am. But that's why I'm so thankful for Origin. It's like, okay, I know that this is who I am. I know that you have me, and I'm gonna be okay. So again, that was really what my focus was. You can struggle if you don't know
Right.
those two things and
Yes.
discovering what your purpose is.
Thank you for sharing that. Like you just said, you can struggle. You know, these things, these burdens, this frustration that you may have, if you don't understand origin and identity, you may look at it as just that. It's frustrations or burdens or why does this thing keep bothering me? When in reality, this is the thing that's giving you hints to your purpose, to what you were created to do, to your assignment. And so the author continues and he says, so I'll go back to where he says, the moment I began to understand identity and origin, purpose didn't suddenly appear. It became visible. Once that realization settled in, I began to see my life differently. My abilities, my endurance, my sensitivity to people, my frustration with broken systems, and the responsibilities I carried without being asked, none of these were random. These were indicators of potential placed by design. The things that moved me deeply were not burdens, they were signals. And that's exactly what we were just talking about. I love that because like he says here, I began to see my life differently. These things are not burdens. These these things were placed by design. This was placed on purpose. I was meant to see this thing that's moving me so deeply. I'm meant to see these signals, and the reality is that all of these things that you're seeing and being burdened by are fingerprints of your calling. This is just a hint that reveals that there's something deeper at play here.
And you know that this is true when I've never not met someone when things are being revealed or their awareness is becoming like, oh, there's this conversation begins to happen. Oh, that's why I went through this. Oh, that's why all of a sudden everything becomes at the forefront of your memory why that had to happen
Right.
for them to grow in that area. And it's like they always begin to understand why we have clarity
Right.
in those areas.
Right.
And that's the thing about life. That's the thing about our origin is that things didn't happen coincidentally. Everyone that you meet, everyone that you speak with, everything that has happened, there was a reason, a purpose for it to help you.
No, yes, very true, Edner. And sorry, guys, I just wanted to touch up earlier and then continue on what we're talking about discussing. But the very first paragraph, about the years where everything felt stalled and believed my purpose was delayed. And I thought purpose required permission, opportunity, or perfect conditions. And as someone, growing up, I'm sure a lot of us, we grow up and we believe, oh yeah, I want to become a doctor. I want to become a coach. I want to become all these different things. And once you reach those goals, sometimes they're not fulfilling. Sometimes it just feels endless and day to day, just continuing this certain career or path, whatever it is. But at the same time, there's something that keeps nudging and keeps pulling on you that there's got to be more than just this one thing, and it's just like the author said, that it was the moment that he began to understand that identity and origin. The moment I began to understand identity and origin, purpose didn't suddenly appear, it became visible. My abilities, my endurance, my sensitivity to people, my frustration with broken systems, and the responsibilities I carried without being asked, none of these were random. They've always been inside of you from when you were first created in your mother's womb to who you are today. These things that keep showing up, keep popping up. There's a reason for it. And it just makes me think of this, of a car. We've been having different car problems, and Diaki will have to look it up and try to fix whatever the problem is to try to take that indicator off of the car, that now the car is working because he's fixed the solution. Is the same thing like us as people. You continue to go through life, and so it's like the car signal that goes off and it keeps reminding you, okay, there's something more than this. I'm getting frustrated from this system or this thing that I'm seeing, and it keeps showing up in my life time and time again. Why does it bother me more than someone else that's right beside me? Something may bother me more than it bothers my sisters. They don't care about it, but to me, it's like nudging on me, and that's one thing that I've noticed looking at something. And one of those things, I don't know what it has to do, but it literally bothers me every single time. It's very frustrating. And I think,
Oh my gosh, can I guess what it is?
well, you might get it, but
It might be like, no, finish what you're saying, but don't say it.
Okay.
Let me guess what it
yes,
is.
but it literally bothers
I
me
got it.
every single time that I am driving.
Yeah, I
It's
already
just
know what it is.
a
Yeah, I
continuous
know what it is.
botherment. I don't know. Maybe I think she does. That
No,
used
we
to
got
bother
it.
me, but I
We
don't know
both
if
got
it's
it.
the same thing. But yes, it bothers me every time I'm driving. I can't help the frustration, and yeah, I just need to take A and go to B to C and get it and see what we can do about it, because it really bothers me so much. But
Let's listen together.
Yeah.
It is
Trash on the highway.
oh, they did get it right. They're so right. It just bothers me so, like, yeah. Anyways, my frustration is very frustrating. Every time we go on the highway, I always have to talk about it, because growing up here in Texas, our highways have always been clean. Always said don't litter in Texas and don't mess with Texas.
Yeah.
So when I go on my highways and I see that it's not getting taken care of, and here locally in my community, it's really bothersome, right? So anyways, that was just something that as well as just working with kids. I love working with kids, and just seeing each child for who they were created to be, and then also be able to see why they may be a certain way. That's one thing that I enjoy and I love to do. And just making the they say the baddest kids, right? Making the baddest kid know how to behave and know how to talk and say thank you, or the quietest kid come out of their shell. These are things that I enjoy and love to do. And it's like, it's like treasure. It's just uncovering it. And anyways, I'm just going off track. But the same things, how it says here, my abilities, my endurance, my sensitivity to people, my frustration with broken systems, and the responsibilities I carried without being asked. None of those were random. These were always indicators of potential placed by design. These things, the things that moved me deeply were not burdens, but they were signals.
Absolutely. Something that I love and what you brought up, an example that you had put was about the messages in the car, right? So the little lights that come on that, the signal, the lights that come on that tell you that, hey, you need an oil change, you're losing air in your tire, whatever those, I don't know all of them, but whatever those things tell you. And yes, you can continue driving your car with that signal on, but it's going to get to a point where your car is not running as it should be because you're not paying attention, checking what that error message is, checking to see what's going on underneath the hood. And so I love how you brought that up in relation to, your purpose and these frustrations, these burdens, these things are signals of something else that's going on. Address them, take a look. There's something deeper happening here. It's not just you need an oil change, take a look and see what really is happening. And that's the same thing in our life is those things, like you said, you and guys, this is so true. Like Kim is so bothered when we drive. Kim is so bothered if there's trash on the highway. If there's trash on the road, she's so bothered by it. And she's always been, this has been for everything. See how me and Edna guessed it right? Kim was like, no, you won't. Yeah, because we've heard you. We've heard you complain about it many times. And so just those kind of things, that's like, why is this bothering me? Why do I care about the beautification of my city? But no, yeah, exactly. And you're a good citizen. But yes. Okay. So anyway, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. And so the author continues in the next paragraph and says, I began to understand that my life was not asking, what do you want to do? It was asking, what have you been prepared to carry? When purpose awakens, neutrality becomes uncomfortable. When purpose awakens, there's no such thing as just being complacent. It's just, just being satisfied with just that's not a thing. Neutrality becomes uncomfortable because when purpose awakens, you finally see like that fire is lit, right? Like you see all of the things, all of the gaps, all of the needs that you need to meet, all of those things come alive.
Yeah, and it just makes me picture, when you're talking about that, the first thing I can think of is Superman. Okay, right? And he has his like little suit on, and then like the buttons are trying to unravel, and you see the S, right? You see the superhero costume because it's trying to come out. Anyways, that's what I thought when she was reading that. But it is very true, Anna, like you said, when you know who you are, there's no denying it. You can't be stagnant because it's an unrelenting force that keeps just nudging at you over and over and over because it's it's part of your purpose. It's part of what you are meant to do. Okay, there's a reason why it keeps nudging at you. And like it says here that let me see. Oh, I think it's the next. It's actually I went ahead, but it just keeps over and over, this unrelenting force. It just won't give up. There's a reason behind that. There's a reason why it feels like my mind's going everywhere and I'm trying to think. There's a reason why it feels like, what is the word I'm looking for? Sorry, I'm thinking of Superman right now.
I was thinking of the word, if it bothers you, that means you're at the right place. Especially when that awareness clicks, that means that you're supposed to start something. Just like the car, once you start it shows you all these problems. But it is that's the uncomfortability of it. It's just, again, when you don't understand who you are, you mistaken the questions. And so going back just to the book, even asking the right questions, right? It says, it's not about asking, what do you want to do? It's asking, what have you been prepared to do? the be me before, that's the fun question. What do you want to be? Oh, I have a list of things of what I want to be. And for me, when identity wasn't clear, my list of things that I want to be was things that I saw that looked good on other people. When I saw them living out their purpose, not realizing that's what it was, that's why it looked so good. That's why it was calling out to me. So I thought what they were doing, that's what I had to do. Not understanding that that wasn't the correct question. The question was, what have you been prepared to carry? And that's where the uncomfortability settles in, because when you start asking those questions, when that awareness is awakened, now you are, what's that word I'm also looking for again? Is now you're sitting with, oh, I have to do something. There's something, it doesn't relate to this, but I always say you get judged not for what you don't know, you get judged for the things that you do, but you do know that you do not decide to do or fix or whatever the situation is. Hopefully Anna can fix what I just said there. But that's kind of what it feels like. That means that nudge is letting you know that you have been fully have permission to go ahead and start walking into that. So if you're sleeping at night, if you're restless, let's just go into the next paragraph, I'm sorry, but that's a good sign. These are good things. That means that you need to go ahead and start doing whatever it is that's been the burdens that's been calling out to you. All those signals that's go ahead and start it. Discover it.
Exactly. And thank you for touching on that too. The question in that paragraph that we just covered, from it, you're shifting from what do you want to do to what have you been prepared to carry? Because in the world, and we know this, you hear it growing up, the world asks you, who do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? Who do you want to be? And God's like, who did I create you to be? Who are you created to be? Okay. And so that's the thing. What have I been prepared to carry? Because you have been prepared, you have been equipped, you have been given these things, these unique skills and traits, and burden, as we call it, before you understand what it really is, to fulfill the task that you've been assigned. And so sorry, go ahead.
Yes, exactly, Anna. Just like you were saying, and just like Edner, and what do you do about it now, right? And just like I was talking about earlier, it's like that unrelenting force. It just won't stop. That's me with the trash on my highways, okay? On our highways, guys. It just bothers me so much. And at the same time, I would go and pick it up myself, but it's on the highway, okay? And it's not safe. So now the next thing is, what can we do? And that's for me to figure out. So anyways, but yeah, literally talking about it right now, I am very frustrated.
Read the next paragraph while
Yes.
you're talking.
Yes. The next paragraph, guys, let's continue on. It says, this is why restlessness often shows up before clarity. When purpose exists, but it is not yet recognized, it expresses itself as tension. You feel unsettled, not because you are lost, but because something within you is trying to come alive. And that's the word I was looking for earlier when I was like, what is that word? It was tension, that unrelenting force, that you just can't be stagnant. You continue with the broken systems, or, why you feel this certain way about a situation, and it expresses itself as tension. But then you soon realize that it is not it's not bad tension. It's good tension because it's directing you. Mhm.
Thank you. So yes, like Kim read in that paragraph, this is why relentlessness often shows up before clarity. These things are already within you. Before you know the destination, these things are already forming in you. Your purpose is greater. It's greater than everything, right? And so those things, that's something that's trying to come alive inside of you, waiting to be discovered, waiting for your awakening. And so that feeling that you're feeling, that's that unrecognized, that tension, that's something within you that is trying to get your attention. And so it continues. The last sentence on that page says, here is the truth that I learned the hard way. Your frustration often reveals your assignment. And that's what we've been saying this entire time. Your frustration often reveals your assignment. It often, like I said earlier, fingerprints of something, evidence of something more, right? Fingerprints of your calling. And so just thank you to Island Tales here. This comment here says, what continually frustrates you is often connected to what you were designed to change. Proper perspective transforms frustration into purpose. That's something that we mentioned earlier too, is that, and thank you for that, joining the conversation. Something we mentioned earlier was exactly that. Once identity and origin was understood, that completely shifted your perspective, because now you no longer look at these things as burdens, but now you see this uh, as the indicators of um, your purpose. And in the paragraph here before, it says indicators of potential placed by design, placed on purpose. And so this is like a great discovery, right? This is like a amazing discovery, and so beautiful to know that, hey, all of these things, this tension, this unrelentless, like you were saying earlier, frustration, this is leading to some things. This is leading to some, like, we're almost there to the gold, we're almost to the discovery here. And so it says it often reveals your assignment. Kim, can you continue on page 34 at the top?
Yes. You are disturbed by what you were designed to address. You notice gaps others ignore because you were shaped to fill them. You feel responsibility where others feel indifference. That is not coincidence. That is direction trying to form. Sorry, I'm joking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly what I was just going to say, is that what you just read, you were disturbed by what you were designed to address. That's a statement worth sitting on.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's take
that's
some
literally
time
what I was sitting
to
on,
really
yeah.
take in this paragraph that you just read. You are disturbed by what you were designed to address.
It kind of reminds me of the frustration that Kim has. I think that's kind of where you're going with that story of being disturbed when you see trash on the highways. And I definitely see that even in fulfilling a purpose. Or one of the things I do love about us just building anything is that when we're in a group project, is immediately we know which assignment belongs to who. And that wasn't always easy, because sometimes we can feel someone who we know, okay, this assignment fits this person better. But because they're not there yet, you're like, I'll take it from here. But you can see those frustrations happening. And then later on, when they see you do it, they're like, oh, wait, I can do that. And then they do it and they do it better. It's like they belong right there. And so that's part of discovering and helping each other. And I love that about purpose, is that it helps everyone. And I just love the discovery of us of doing that. The example of what you said, and filling the assignment is like it calls out to you. There's a feeling why it pulls you towards that one thing.
Exactly. Sometimes, God places a burden on your heart that other people don't carry.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that Kim was saying earlier. Sometimes something's bothering you that it doesn't bother me at all, or it's not something that I, dedicate attention to. But Kim's like really focused on that one thing. And that's the truth of it, is that we're all, we're sisters. We grew up, we're born and raised in the same household, under the same rules, under the, all of that stuff. But we're both different in those ways, because we were specifically created to meet these specific tasks, to like that second sentence, you notice gaps others ignore because you were shaped to fill them. You specifically were shaped to fill them. And so if you can see the gap, maybe you were meant to help bridge it. And so I love that says that. And even saying you feel responsibility where others feel indifference. What we just said about, the example about Kim, like 10 people can see the same situation going on. But one person can feel deeply convicted about it, or deeply moved, or everybody moves about their day, but this person is just focused on that thing that they saw, that they want to do something about. So all those things are clues into what your purpose, what your task is. Something that, as I was reading this, something that came to mind is that not every frustration is a calling. Not every frustration is a calling. If I was to sit here and go through all my frustrations, not every single one is a calling, but there are certain burdens that seem to follow you throughout your life. This is something that you've seen and that you've been affected by ever since ever since you can remember. Those are the things that we're talking about when we talk about your frustrations, those persistent things that continue to come up, no matter the setting that you're in or how old you are, or whatever, is that it's a frustration that has that seems to follow you everywhere that you go. And
Sorry, yes, just how you were just talking on that. I just wanted to touch up on that. It's very true, because looking back, just looking back and remembering my high school and just growing up, one thing that's always just bugged me, is people littering and just go around. I remember going around my high school that's down the street over here, and every single trash I would see, I'd go and pick it up just because it just bothered me so much. So thinking about this whole situation, with the highways being dirty and everything, and I've always wanted to see what's the next step to get these highways clean. And at the same time, the reason why I didn't take the next step, because it can be a little scary sometimes going into unknown territory and going into something that I don't know much about. But at the same time, in order to grow, you sometimes have to be put in certain situations or in something that you may not know in order to grow or walk in that purpose, whatever that may be. So just thinking about that too, maybe why you haven't taken the next step is you don't know much about it, but this is the time to encourage our listeners online as well as myself to do it. Okay, just do it. So
If you talk about trash one more time, I'm gonna make you get up and go look for the trash to pick up.
Highway right here.
But yeah, we might have had the same thing because the way that I was,
picking up trash
picking up trash at school and they had a whole pep rally.
There's a whole pep rally.
That's a different story. That's a different story.
But
But
picking up trash on the highway together.
no, definitely not. But yeah, so just like Kim was, sharing about that responsibility
Yes.
that you
Yes.
just feel that you just can't get away from. But the author continues to say, that's not a coincidence. That is not a coincidence. That's not just because. That is direction trying to form. And so, a lot of times we think that we try to plan, right, the direction that we're going. Like, this is my 5-year plan, and or we wait for like the perfect timing for direction to take place. But we see through this and through life experience that could be further from the truth. That direction here trying to forming through repeated burdens, repeated, that tension, those things that you can't get away from, or convictions, frustrations. And I think about, Joseph. We talked about him recently, Joseph in the Bible, about how he had dreams long before he even went to the palace. We talk about David, how David was a shepherd boy long before, like even when he was anointed as king, he still remained a shepherd long before he even stepped into the role as king. And so we see even in their stories that direction was already forming before the destination was even visible, right? So before they even saw the destination of the end goal, what they were working towards, the direction was already forming within them. David was already learning to take care of his flock before he stepped into his role as king. That was already forming within him. And so that's the same thing with us, that as we go about in our lives and we see these things that continue to frustrate us, what things are forming. And we talk about that a lot. That's a word that we talk about a lot here, especially going through this book, about what is being formed in me right now. What am I being prepared for? What have I been prepared to carry? And so that's what I loved about seeing that, is that it's not coincidence, it's direction trying to form. And so it continues to say on the next paragraph, purpose is not always loud. It does not always come with certainty or confidence. That's something that you just talked about. Sometimes, I know that this thing's frustrating me, but how can I address it? How can I fix this issue, solve this problem? And so, it does not always come with certainty or confidence. More often, it reveals itself through responsibility, the kind that keeps showing up even when you didn't ask for it. Is that not my favorite thing?
Okay.
Responsibility you didn't ask for?
Okay.
Yes. So that's the thing, like, hey, lean into that.
Yeah.
Be happy, okay? Because that's something is being revealed. A lot of times we expect purpose, something of this grandeur to enter our lives with like a blowhorn and like ta-da, like party and confetti, like, this is me, I'm your purpose, this is what you're gonna do. And in reality, no, a purpose, it reveals itself through responsibility, through the work, the kind that keeps showing up even when you didn't ask for it. Yeah.
There's a situation that is a tension repeater throughout my whole life. And the conversation came back again last night due to it coming back again. And so this is some assignments are a lot longer than others, and so this is one that keeps repeating, that hurts, that no matter how much it hurts, but at the same time I know that I already had an answer of how to handle it before. And so when that conversation came last night, I remember I was saying a lot of things that wasn't right in the sense of the assignment, right? And so after that night, I sat with it and just turned off the light and just talking to God about the situation, the reoccurring situation in my life. And then I had to really remember why it's here, why this assignment was given to me. And I remember one time in Bible class, and my husband was speaking, and he had said something about, why me, or something like that. And an elder man said, "Why not you?" And I remember thinking about, and it was a beautiful conversation. I kept going, but that has always stuck to me. Why not you? And so I think about that in this assignment, because I had to change the way I spoke about it. Because I've learned within this repeating burden is that speaking ill about it is not going to solve anything. Thinking about how I could just probably even ignore it. It didn't even, rather, there's some situations you're like, maybe, you know what, let me go ahead and leave this one. And it does work itself out. But I know for this reoccurring one, that's not a way to handle it. So I just really sad about that. I remembered why it was being given to me, but also remember who's the one who's actually really holding it. I'm just here to fulfill it. But at the same time, I just remember thinking, speaking to God about it, and just getting, I remember we just talked about perspective, choosing the way that you see it. So I sat there, I thought about all the ill things I said, and then just reversed it. I'm gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right. It's not towards you. It's not offensive towards you. Speaking, whoever that person or people is, speaking nice, kind things about them. Remembering to pray about them. Remembering about one of the things that if I ever get frustrated with anybody, I pray blessings upon them. I pray better things for them than I do for myself. These things just helps build gratitude, because some assignments that you're going to have to carry really are hard, but remembering that you're not like God is there with you. He's the one carrying you through it. He wants to hear those wearies and all the things that you're going through. So having to remember that, because I was just thinking about that repeating word again, fulfilling those assignments and whatever your purpose being called. And because that assignment, that load that has been here, it's part of why I am who I am today, going forward to what I'm going to be doing later.
Yes, very true. Thank you so much for sharing that, Edner, with us. And just like you said, that is such a great question, asking like, why me? And to just flip it around and say, why not you? Why shouldn't it not be me? And I just love that, because it really changes your perspective. And now you are able to ready yourself, that as we've been talking, you're able to ready yourself and position yourself accordingly, because now okay, God, now I know what my purpose is. I know the things that I am designed or created or the need to fulfill. Now I can better position myself and be ready for whatever it is that is my, what's the other word for purpose? Is my assignment. Now I can better be ready, like a goalie getting ready to block the soccer ball, right? Now you can better position yourself to be able to catch it. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing that. Instead of saying why me, say why not me, right? Why not you?
Something that I love about going through this study here is like what we just discussed, right? Is because when you are awakened to your purpose, I love it because now you understand, and you have the resources, and you have the confidence to address the things that have been bothering you, like addressing the frustrations, though that tension that has been sitting with you, that has been following you all of your life, is that, wow, I was actually called to address this. I was actually given this task, this assignment. And so it's something that I wanted to address. It's something that has been bothering me. So it's something that I want to do. It's something that feels good for me to address it, because this is the thing that has been bothering me, and it's bothering me because it's my purpose. And that's what I love, is that it all goes together. And because of that, because I'm addressing an issue or a problem or a system, whatever it is that I need to change, a gap that I'm stepping into to bridge, to fill. Because of that, it's not a exhausting thing, right? And so that's actually what this next paragraph goes into. And it says, this is also why purpose energizes instead of exhausts. When your effort aligns with intention, strength is renewed. even in difficult seasons, even when it feels like you are breathing underwater. Purpose gives you direction instead of despair. Now, don't misunderstand this and think that purpose isn't difficult, or it's not going to be something that's, tiring. It's not going to be something that's going to consume, your energy and all these things. What this means is that your suffering, it gives your suffering meaning. Once all these things align, now your suffering has meaning. There's a big difference between I'm tired versus I'm empty. And so, I'm completely depleted. And so this is why that's so true to me, is that statement there, is that purpose energizes instead of exhausts. Your strength is renewed when your effort aligns with intention, when it aligns with purpose, when it aligns with that meaningful connection. Your strength is renewed by that. When I'm addressing a problem, or doing something that I've been called to do, yes, the work can be hard, the work can be a lot demanding, but my strength is renewed by that. Like we say all the time, sometimes our schedules can get kind of crazy. Sometimes we're around the clock busy, but we say there's a different strength that comes with that. Even if we're running off of little sleep, or we're juggling how many things at one time, none of these things are all of these things are meaningful and important, and towards the calling that we've been called to fulfill. And so because of that, it doesn't feel like a waste of time. It doesn't feel like just because, we're just doing things to stay busy. Everything that we're doing, it is productive.
Yes. So I love how you broke that down. Thank you, Anna. And as you're speaking, I thought about something that just happened to me last night as well. I went through a lot last night. So I'm in college, and there's this class that I'm taking, and it's about to be done. And I was so excited. Remember, I even texted you. I was like, I'm about to do my last assignment and turn it in. I'm done. I'm finished 8 days early, whatever. So the class has been pretty easy in the sense of just the assignments that I need to be done, and I just lots of questions being answered, but I was getting them early, getting them done. And I'm like, okay, awesome. So just that feeling of just being able to wipe up another assignment after another. And so last night, after I took a nap, I was like, okay, let me just finish the last one I need to do. So I went and did that assignment, got it done in probably about a good 20 minutes, sent it in. And then next thing you know, the final assignment came in. And I thought to myself, where did this one come from? Where did this one come from? Because from what I'm seeing is that you only gave us 7 assignments. And I'm just blabbing in my head. And so I'm like, how did I miss this? But anyhow, I opened up the last assignment, and it's so long. And I was like, why would you wait? I'm like cursing my professor in my head. Why would you wait this long? And give the longest assignment at the very end. And so I was kind of like, oh my gosh. Anyhow, this is why it's good to read all the way through your assignment. And so the last thing it said is use your previous assignments to finish up this project. And so finally I went through it, and I was like, oh, this is really easy. And so but what I loved about was the clarity, was that these small assignments helped me answer the biggest one. It was just really plugging in what you already know, and then now you're making all the connections of why it makes sense. And so I sat there like, oh, you knew what you were doing, because this assignment, yes, it's long. Yes, you really had to purposely making sure that, all the things that you need to be doing as a college student, but you already had the answers. You just got to plug it all in. And that's just what takes the longest, is just doing that part, plugging everything that you already know to finish this long assignment. And so I was just thinking about those things, because that is where the renewal comes. And I was like, yeah, because once I realized how easy it was to finish this assignment, I thought to myself, it felt very refreshing to know that I got this. And so that's just an illustration that came to my mind.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. How you already worked on all the little things, right? You addressed them, you completed it, and it wasn't until the end that you realized, oh, all these things come together, and
Exactly.
be able to step back and see the big picture there. And that's exactly what happens when when you're awakened to this discovery and to your purpose, is that the big picture finally comes together. All the little things that have been sitting on your heart, the things you've been burdened with, the things that have been following you throughout your life, that you couldn't understand why other people can't see what you see. Well, as soon as purpose enters the conversation, you see the big picture, and you realize how all these things have been connected since the beginning, how it's been forming in you, and how it's literally what you were created for to do.
I don't have nothing to add to that, but thank you for clarifying and making it a little bit better. Exactly where I was going with that.
Yes. And so um, the author continues and says here, I eventually realized something simple but freeing. And this is after talking about, in difficult seasons when you're breathing underwater, that purpose gives you direction instead of despair. The author continues and says, I eventually realized something simple but freeing. I was never waiting for purpose to arrive. Purpose had been waiting for me to recognize it,
Right.
not in perfection, not in comfort, but in obedience to what was already in front of me. And I absolutely love that. I absolutely love the clarification about purpose have been waiting for me to recognize it. Like we said, those things that are forming in you, those things that are just those little inconveniences, the tension, the frustration, the burdens on your heart, all of these things waiting for you to have that perspective, that shift in your mindset to see it for what it truly is. And once you do and you begin to see the S on Superman's chest come into focus, and you see that wait a minute, this is what I was created to do. This is my purpose. I think I was called to meet this need, to address this gap, to bridge it. And so that's something that is, like the author says here, simple but so freeing. How amazing to be released from the shackles that you thought were burdens this entire time, to now know that this is the reason why you literally exist. How beautiful and how freeing. Something even better than that is knowing that purpose was never waiting for perfection. It didn't wait for me to lose 20 pounds. It didn't wait for me to, figure out my wardrobe or to learn how to do public speaking or whatever. It wasn't waiting for you to even be comfortable. No. All it was waiting for was obedience, in obedience to what was already in front of you. What I love is that this is not something that you have to guess. This is something that's been in front of you all along. You just didn't recognize it for what it was. And now, purpose, now that through your obedience, you're seeing the thing that's been staring you down, and now you know how to move forward with it. Now you know how to address it. And so it says purpose does not begin by asking, what will this cost me? It begins by asking, what have I been entrusted with? And I love all these questions. This book is full of questions to reflect on, to ask yourself, to say out loud, because it really does get that your mind thinking towards the right direction. And so this question is, purpose does not begin by asking, what will this cost me? What is this gonna take? What it asks is, what have I been entrusted with? What have I been given the responsibility to do? That's something that way back, the definition of assignment, when we said it's a task, a legal transfer of rights, or a specific duty given to someone. So yes, what is my assignment? What have I been entrusted with? A lot of times when you think about responsibility, you think that it's responsibility comes with like a job title or something like that. But a lot of times, and we see it here, responsibility sometimes is born out of compassion. Compassion for people, compassion for. I think about the Good Samaritan, and I think about that story about how many people walked by this injured person on the side of the road, just laying there injured, lifeless, about to leave this earth. And so, but the Good Samaritan could not just walk past him. There was something inside of him that did not allow him to take another step without addressing it, without helping him, without reaching out to him. He had that strong conviction on his heart. He was burdened with something. And so he had to, that nothing required him to stop, but that responsibility was born out of compassion for this man who laid there, who needed help. And so a lot of things in life is like that. A lot of programs that are built out of that compassion for my people. I think about our foundation. I think about, how that was born from compassion, how that was born from, the many needs that we saw that really needed to be addressed. And instead of saying, why me, saying, why not me, and saying, what have I been entrusted with? Instead of saying, what will this cost me? Maybe we should have asked that because it's costing. But asking, what have I been entrusted with? Lord, why do I see this? Why can't you remove this from me? Why do I continue to dwell on the gap in, the lack in this community or in this thing. And so a lot of things that we need to ask ourselves is those questions. Maybe you're watching this and you're thinking, yeah, there is something, that keeps bothering me. Maybe things like, wait, why aren't people helping these families, or who's mentoring those kids, or why is this broken system just being allowed to continue broken like this? Why is this injustice happening? There's so many things that, that stay with you throughout your life, and you continue to ask these things. And how beautiful it is when you realize that those things are indications of something waiting to be uncovered. And all it is waiting for your obedience to be faithful to what God has placed in front of you. Maybe you cannot unsee this thing because it was placed in front of you by design on purpose. You were meant to see this thing. You were meant to address it. You were meant to solve that problem. And so that is just like, it's so fun. It's so fun. It's so freeing. And it just makes life so exciting, right? Because now, like, okay, life is wonderful because there's these things that I've been given this task. I've been empowered to do this thing. And so, yes, you have been. Please see it quickly because we need a lot of help. The world needs a lot of help. And so that's just like a beautiful thing. When I read through this chapter, just feeling so encouraged and like inspired to figure it out, do the work, and to be obedient and faithful to what God has placed in front of you. Sorry, guys. I was talking, and didn't realize that we came to the end of that page. But yes, so, Edna, would you like to read? Yes.
And when that question is answered honestly, life no longer feels accidental.
That's it.
You realize you were here on assignment. I
Mhm.
love that.
That's exactly what I'm
Love
talking
that.
about. Life no longer feels accidental. That was literally, I was trying to think of it, and it was on the next page. That's why you need to get your book. Get your book, guys, because it has the words. It has the words for you. But yes, life no longer feels accidental. It no longer feels, purposeless. You no longer feel like you're just wandering aimlessly, waiting for something to show up, waiting for something to give. Now everything that you're going through has meaning. Everything that's happening, it now feels, you feel good because, speaking for myself, you feel good because you realize I'm here on assignment. I have an assignment. I'm sorry I can't do that. I have an assignment. Sorry I can't go to that. I have an assignment. And so I love that about purpose, about seeing that, because everything has meaning. Everything has finally taken shape, right? Everything comes into focus. Everything is now aligned, and you know exactly why you're here. And like we shared last time, is that, purpose doesn't reveal the whole picture to you all at once, but it reveals itself with every faithful step that you take. And so you don't need to figure it out. You don't need to know your destination. David didn't need to know his destination. He just knew he needed to shepherd the flock. He needed to be a shepherd. And all of those skills transferred when he became a king. And so right now, you need to be obedient to what God has placed in front of you. Be obedient in those things, in those little steps. Take them faithfully as your purpose shifts into focus, as your perspective, your mind is transformed and renewed, looking at everything that's going on, your circumstances, your environment, all of the things that have been placed on your heart that you once thought were burdens. All of those things come into focus.
And I love that you brought David, because I also see him as a singer, as a praiser. And so I can only imagine on duty that he was just worshiping the whole time,
for
and
sure.
times went hard,
sure.
was, burdened. But I just wanted to add on to everything that you're saying so beautifully, Anna. But it's being on assignment, you're not always going to be happy about it. You're going to really have hard times. So if you're one of those emotional people, like, it feels good, but again, you're not, there's days it's like, wow, this is really heavy. I have a friend that just came in mind that you're speaking, as we all know, Elizabeth Phillips. She walks on assignment, but the way that she carries herself is like, because I gotta do this, I'm gonna be happy about it. I'm gonna choose to be walking in today with gladness. And I just love I'm always about the attitude, the way that you posture yourself through things. And it also made me think about my little guy. One day at school, his assignment that day was to be line leader. And his teacher's writing his book, all the things that he needs, whatever it is that they're up to date with. And so, anyways, that week he was line leader. And I remember one day we were hanging at the house, and he was like, "Wait, hold on, I'm a leader." So he's like, "All of you, line up, line up, line up." And he was making sure we're lined up. And I remember Antonio, his dad, he was like, "Come on, Elias." And he's like, "Shh." He's like fixing our attitudes, and he's like, "Okay, let go." But he took it so seriously. And I don't know about you guys, but I love when I'm working next to someone who's on the same assignment, who's just so happy and glad to be there.
Yes.
And that fixes my posture and my attitude. But I just wanted to also just mention that to you as well, because these are some trying times when you're working on some of these really longer assignments that you'll be on.
Yeah. No, very true. And I love how you talked about Elias and how he was given that task. And
serious.
right, exactly. And how it gave him meaning and
Mhm,
purpose, in his classroom, and how even when his parents were trying to say, like, let's go, like,
Yeah, come
and he was
on.
like, I have an assignment. I need you to but but that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what we're studying. That's exactly why it's so important. This study that we've been walking through, that's exactly why it's so important, because meaning has entered the picture. Everything now comes into focus, into alignment. And so, once, like we said earlier, once you begin to understand identity and purpose, and understand what's really going on through the frustrations that you've been experiencing, that shift, the perspective shift, happens from chasing purpose as something that's far away, right? Because sometimes you get like purpose, sometimes, especially without going through all of this, you think of it as something abstract, like something so far away, like I can't even touch it. Like, what does it even mean? How can I even break that down into like bite-sized chunks where I can understand? This really takes you from chasing purpose as something far away to recognizing it as something that God has been forming through your experiences, through the things that bring out your compassion, that you're compassionate about, and through your obedience to being faithful to what God has placed in front of you. And so that's something that I'd like for all of us to just sit on, these truths that we've been talking about today, to reflect on them throughout the week and just think about those things. What are the things that have been, those things placed on me, those burdens that have been following me throughout my life, the things that I just can't turn away from, the things that I keep that really stick out to me, that I want to do something about, but I just don't know. All of those things, to really think, like, I'm being serious. Take a pen and paper, write those things down and recognize them, and take a moment to reflect on the things that have been there from the start, and realize what has been forming in you since the beginning. This chapter, what I love about the chapters in this book as we go through them, is that they always leave us with a moment of truth, a moment of reflection for the reader. And so this chapter leaves us with a moment of activation. And I love that, because, yeah, we need to activate, action. And so I'm going to read through the bullet points here, and it says a moment of activation, or I'm going to have Kim read it, sorry. And these are things that we just want you and ourselves to pause and consider. Think about them. Really honestly, take time and think about it. Even taking time out, like scheduling time to reflect on these things and ask yourself these things. So Kim, can you please go ahead and read under the moment of activation?
Where do I see responsibility repeatedly placed before me? What problems disturb me more deeply than others? What abilities or insights seem to surface naturally in me? What might I already be prepared to step into, even if I feel unready? You do not need full clarity to begin. You only need alignment. Purpose becomes clearer as you move forward with truth.
So yes, definitely take time to think about these things. I love these questions because it really helps to turn your focus into something that's going to give you back the answers you need to know, to get an idea of where it is that you are starting right now, right? So what responsibilities repeatedly placed before me? What does God keep just putting right there in front of me? What's going on?
What is it?
What problems disturb me more deeply than others? Like this injustice, I have to address it. I have to do something about it. And it doesn't bother them as much as it bothers me, but I just can't stop without thinking about that thing? What abilities or insights seem to surface naturally in me? What are things that people keep telling me I'm so good at this thing, or this comes so naturally to me? Where it's work for someone else, it's easy for me. It comes naturally to me. What might I already be prepared to step into? Hey, maybe you've outgrown your current environment, or what are you, ready to step into? Even if, I mean, not ready, but what is it that you are being called to step into, even if you don't feel ready? And like we said, these things, purpose becomes clearer as you move forward with truth. As you take one faithful step in front of the other, these things begin to become clearer and more into focus. And so, where are we going next? So that's something that we want you guys to sit with, and then also to share where we're going next in this book. And so, if you've been following along, we are going into part 3, and that is direction. So where are we going next? Edgar, can you read?
Yes, absolutely. So where are we going next? Where we're going next. Purpose answers why you are here, but vision answers where you are going. In the next chapter, we will explore destiny, how purpose becomes direction, how alignment becomes movement, and how vision turns effort into legacy. Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely love that. And so I know I say it all the time. I'm going to say it again. This is going to be my favorite one. Okay? Because now it's getting exciting. Now you're in the ring. When we started out, I was outside the ring. I was looking from the outside, right? I was trying to figure out where my part was in all of this. And as we step into the next chapter, I see exactly where I am. Now we're getting in the ring. And now we're seeing where we're going. And so it's exciting. Yes, I said it before, but this is going to be my favorite chapter, guys. Talking with you guys here and sharing this with our listeners and our friends virtually has been such a fun experience and has been really meaningful. And so I can't wait to dive into the conversation. If you're watching us, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. You can always order your book on Amazon. The Kasitati Foundation bookstore. We have these books. We have the Little Champs. They have their reading material on there, but we also have Formed Underwater on Amazon. And so you can get your book just in time for next week's discussion. We'd love for you to join us. And if not, it's okay. We go through every page here together. So we just love that you're here. We thank you for joining the conversation. And we hope that this has brought you a little bit of clarity or a little bit of direction about where to move next. And we hope that you join us as we come back next week for chapter 4. But yes, we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday. And we'll catch you guys on another episode of What Anna Said podcast. Bye. Thank you guys for being here. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. It's Friday. Friday.